The 2025 FIFA Club World Cup could be the biggest opportunity for the Seattle Sounders in club history. Hello everybody and welcome back to Rave Green TV, and in today's video we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. I know things haven't been going so well for the Sounders on the field this season, and all the videos haven't been quite positive. I've just decided maybe let's do something different, talking about something that's going to be coming up next year, as there's a lot of information out for it, something a little bit more positive essentially is what I'm trying to say, is which is the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. We saw the Sounders previously compete in the 2023 FIFA Club World Cup, but in 2025, they're introducing a whole new formatted World Cup style tournament, and a lot of information has officially been released for it. I mean, of course, as I mentioned, Seattle will be participating in it. And so in today's video, I want to give you guys the information about the tournament and why it's so important for the Sounders to start preparing for it, and why this could be such a big deal for the club and for the organization. So next to me here is my good old friend Wikipedia, which has pretty much all the information we all need to know as fans for this upcoming tournament. I know many of you might have forgotten and or don't know much about what's going to be going down in this upcoming tournament, so I felt this was a good detailed video that was necessary for all of you, because I doubt the Sounders would do something very in-depth talking about it and all the underlying things that could happen for us, because we're participating in such a big new tournament that's going to be featuring the best teams from around the world. So this will be happening between June 15th to July 13th. So almost, I don't know exactly when this video will be out, but a year from now, pretty much about a year from now. It's going to be in the summertime next year, which is going to be interesting to see. Will the Seattle Sounders not be participating in Leagues Cup due to them being in this tournament? And the odds are they might be the only MLS team participating in it. We'll get into more of why they might not be, but most likely Seattle is likely to be one, if not maybe two MLS teams participating in this tournament. So as we all know, the FIFA Club World Cup is a kind of like mini tournament between the continental winners from each region: UEFA, South America, CONCACAF, Oceania, Africa, XYZ. And they just compete in a tournament as the champions of each continent to see who is the best club in the world, the Club World Cup winners. And Seattle participated in 2023. It's usually just a small tournament that it doesn't have like massive significance. Obviously, the teams participating in it, the fans for those teams are super into it, but it's kind of like a pushed under the rug tournament, because 95% of the time a European team wins it. We saw it in the last, 10-ish years. A European team has won it every time. The odd year was back in 2013, I want to say, when Chelsea lost to Corinthians, I believe, that year. So that was kind of like the one oddball, but the tournament doesn't have as much significance. So FIFA decided to introduce this new World Cup style version of it. So every 4 years of the tournament, they're going to be doing this World Cup style version of it, where there's going to be 32 teams. The top teams from around each continent will participate in a tournament: group stage, knockout rounds, final. So essentially just like the OG World Cup format. There's going to be 12 teams from UEFA, 6 teams from South America, 4 teams from Asia, Africa, and CONCACAF, and 1 team from Oceania. And on top of all of that, the host nation, which in this year's edition will be the United States, gets an additional spot. So that's why I said Seattle will most likely be the only team that will qualify for it, but good odds are I think Inter Miami will as well be in it, unless Columbus Crew win this year's CONCACAF Champions League. But good odds are it's just going to be Seattle and possibly Inter Miami. I'm curious how this whole thing will go into play for it. But yeah, that's basically how it's going to go. Some of the teams that are in the tournament, so they have like a heat map of all the teams from around the world, but this is way better to see from. So from AFC, we got the likes of Al Hilal. I don't want to butcher these names, but we'll keep continuing. From Africa, our good old friends Al Ali. You know, if we remember them, I don't want to think about it. CONCACAF, of course, we're in it. It's most likely going to be another Liga MX team here. From CONMEBOL, South America, it's a bunch of Brazilian teams. Still more to be determined. Oceania, it's going to be Auckland City. They were in it as well when we played in it back in 2023. And then all these European powerhouses. And then, as I said, since this year's will be hosted in the United States, which I think is great for US soccer, it will be an American team. I'm almost certain it's going to be Inter Miami. So these are going to be all the teams participating in it. That's basically the gist of what the information is as of now. As we see, there's not everyone has officially qualified. There's still a few to be determined spots. As when this year concludes, we'll probably have the final slots from AFC, CONCACAF, the last few from CONMEBOL. It is based off of this 4-year ranking as well, for because South America and CONCACAF, South America and Europe get additional spots. So they have this whole UEFA 4-year ranking. It's not only just the winners from the Champions League, but this some type of coefficient ranking tally points plays into play to the other teams that participate in it. I don't totally get it. Not our problem. Let's just worry about our area. All of ours will be through Champions League winners, and which we were one back in 2022. In regard to the implications about it, why is this such a big deal? The significance for it for the Seattle Sounders, I think that's the most important part and thing we want to talk about. So one of the biggest talking points when it comes to this upcoming new edition FIFA Club World Cup is every single team that is participating in it earns $50 million just for being in the tournament. And for however far you advance in it, you can win up to 100 million smackers. That's huge for every single team in this tournament. We're going to be getting 50 million bucks just for being there. That's huge in itself because we could reinvest that into our squad. Our recent track record under Weibel, Schmetzer, this ownership, I don't know how well we're going to utilize this money and if we're going to utilize it in upgrading our squad. But we'll get back into this whole money aspect in a second. But not only is this just a big deal for the Sounders to be playing against the best teams from around the world in a competitive tournament format that matters. This is not a friendly. This actually matters. This will have lots of viewership, lots of eyes surrounding it. We get to see how much has MLS improved because the Sounders will pretty much be the main benchmark for MLS, which is upsetting because if this was the Sounders of past, I think a lot more MLS fans and Sounders fans would be a little bit more optimistic about it because there was that little special something with the team back in that pre-2021 era, in my opinion. And we're basically we're going to be holding the whole mantle for MLS going into this tournament, plus whichever team gets that host guaranteed spot, which again, I think will most likely be Inter Miami. But we're going to be holding down the pack of like, we're going to be the ones that we'll see how well can MLS compete against the CONMEBOL teams, the UEFA teams, the African teams, the Asian teams. Where have we grown as a league to this point now that we've made these leaps and bounds of growth? That's one of the big parts about this whole thing that is such a big deal for me is we're going to be the benchmark for it. But it's so unfortunate because these last couple of years, I don't think we've planned for this. I think this was announced, I want to say a year or two ago, but we haven't quite been building towards it, like actually trying to reinforce our squad depth to actually be possible, not necessarily contenders to win this thing, because I think that's really, really optimistic and very outlandish to say so, but to maybe get like one good, like a really good performance, a win in this tournament, maybe scrap out of the group stage, just something like that. Make a statement for this team because right now for MLS teams, as I mentioned early on, Inter Miami has become this world recognized brand because of Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, the old Barcelona OG teams of the 2010s. Seattle could really stamp their marker in this tournament to be that second or third most recognizable team in MLS if they do well in this tournament because they're going to be facing off against these teams again in a competitive setting. How many MLS teams can say they've done the same thing? None of them, unless they win the CONCACAF Champions League. Don't let our hard work from 2022, like what Garth built our team up to help us win that tournament that year, squander. Because I feel like we did squander that 2023 Club World Cup opportunity to at least, I'm not saying we could have won the tournament, but we could have been all Ali. Let's be 100% honest with ourselves. Yes, maybe we were a bit unlucky and this and that, all these X, Y, and Z variables. But if we really took the game to all Ali, I think we could have won it. And to have had the opportunity, regardless of what the scoreline would have been, to take a big stepping stone step, to facing off against Real Madrid in a competitive setting, I think would have been a great transition going into this tournament to get that taste of what it is like to face off against a world powerhouse in a competitive setting, not a friendly, but in a game that matters. Because the reality is, for those European teams, when they go into the Club World Cup, they want to win it. They want to have that FIFA Club World Cup champions patch on their jerseys, because when the European team doesn't win it, as the example I made with Chelsea and Corinthians back in 2013 ish, it wasn't a good look for Chelsea. If we had that opportunity to do that, I think that would have been huge. But the big thing is this could be a huge brand recognition opportunity for this team. But the problem is, the biggest issue is we haven't quite built up our squad and the depth, the players, the personalities to really do anything in this tournament. I mean, we're seeing this season, we're hurting so bad in MLS. Imagine what teams like Fluminense, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Benfica, I don't know, even Al Ali or Al Hilal will do to us in this tournament, because all these teams are actually way stronger and way better, like by a country mile, than the teams that we're losing to right now. If we can't beat Austin FC, we can't beat the Colorado Rapids. Imagine what's going to happen if things don't change and progress for this team. We have 3 windows. Actually, I'm sorry, 2 windows till this tournament. We have this upcoming summer window and the main winter transfer window in MLS to really bolster the squad going into that tournament, because this tournament is going to be happening next summer, about a year from now. So we have 2 windows to possibly reconcile and to get this team ready for that, be it ingoing transfers, outgoing transfers, the same shit I've been talking about pretty much in multiple recent videos. And I'm a little disappointed we haven't really done anything about it. And as well, like when it comes to our bargaining with transfers, do you feel like Craig Weibel's mentioning, hey, we might be one of, if not the only MLS team competing in this upcoming tournament? Again, most likely Inter Miami will be in it, but we might be the main MLS team competing in this 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Don't you want to be a part of this huge tournament to compete against the likes of Porto, Benfica, Inter in a huge opportunity for yourself? Because again, a lot of eyes and big teams will be in this. This is a huge scouting opportunity for a lot of the players on the team and possible transfers that we bring in. Why don't we use that to our leverage? Because again, no other MLS team has this intangible, unlike us. But I don't feel like we use that in our bargaining chips with transfers, because I feel like that's such a huge thing, but I don't think we use it. And especially we don't push towards making transfers to do well in this tournament, because then this could be a big appeal for other players to be like, oh, yeah, I saw how the Seattle Sounders performed in that 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Because in my opinion, I think for the more ambitious players that coming to MLS from playing in a big league. Let's say, for example, Giroud, who recently just officially signed for LAFC. Let's say if Giroud was still ambitious, I think he would have rather come to the Sounders than LAFC. I know living in LA, Miami, those places is more appealing, but like as I said, the more ambitious European players would want to show themselves that they still got it. Yeah, they might be playing for a lesser team against these powerhouse nations and the upcoming FIFA Club World Cup. And I just don't feel like we're utilizing this bargaining chip. And that's a big problem that I have with the current transfer business that we've been doing. And when it comes to the Sounders in this tournament, I think the big thing is it's not only a big opportunity for the team, the organization, the players, but as well for the fans. To the ones that will be traveling across the globe. For me, who's going to be making content surrounding this thing, it's going to be big, but we want to see us do well in it. You know, I'm not saying for us to win it, and I'm not saying for us to top our group or anything like that, but to show like a really good performance against a Chelsea, tie against a Chelsea, maybe beat a Benfica. Because the reality is we're going to be the minnows in the group. We're going to be that team that every team is going to be licking their lips about, being like, okay, that should be our guaranteed 3 points against the Seattle Sounders, because that's kind of the team that we are right now. And I want us to, yes, use that underdog stature mentality to our advantage. But as well, we need to have a good squad going into this tournament, because our current squad is not good enough. I don't want us to have a repeat of the Al Ali game where, again, we played pretty well, but we just can't finish because we don't have good quality attackers. De La Vega is a good step for this tournament, but we need like 3 De La Vegas if we want to have one good performance in this tournament. That's the truth. We're going up against the best teams in the world. As I said, we can't even beat Austin SC or the Colorado Rapids at home. Imagine what these teams are going to do to us. They're not going to be nice and just barely beat us 2-1. If we're not going to take our 1-2 opportunities that we have, it's going to end 3-4-0. They will stomp on any little mistake and fragile mentality of misses and misplaced passes, poor defending, lapses in judgment. These teams are ruthless. So we need to do the same when it comes to our transfer business and how we play and being clinical and taking every opportunity that we get. But with this attack, we don't take any opportunity. So that's kind of just the talk when it comes to the Sounders in this tournament. And the main thing is this could be huge. It's a lot of money that the club can reinvest in the squad whenever we get that money. I don't know when we'll get that money, but this could be a huge, huge, big buck that this team needs to reinvest in the squad. And as well, as I said, if we do well in this tournament, we can make more money. That it's a lot of money, a ridiculous amount of money for an MLS team. We could really make some big waves in our squad if we use this money in the right way and or do well in this tournament and have more money. That's more budget we can use on transfers. We can stop using the lame excuse we don't have money. This tournament is giving us a poop ton of money, a lot of money. And I just want to see us do well. That's the big gist of it. There's going to be a lot of big teams, a lot of eyes on this tournament, huge opportunities maybe for some of our youngsters, big players that we could be bringing in from South America, from Europe, that would want to join us to compete in this tournament with us, because that could be a big opportunity for their careers to show that, hey, I could go to the Sounders and still play well for them and help this team beat Benfica, something like that. You know, you guys kind of get what I'm trying to say in that regard. This could be a huge bargaining chip in our transfer business going into that tournament, because I think a lot of players would be licking their lips for the opportunity to compete in this tournament. And there's only a handful of teams that are going to be in it. And in regards to the minnows and MLS teams in it, we're going to be one of two, unless Columbus pull out a miracle, which in the crew we trust. I kind of hope there are more MLS representatives because it'll take the burden a little bit off our shoulders. But the Sounders, this could be a chance where the Sounders could become that second or third most recognizable team in MLS. Because right now, for me, it's Inter Miami, LA Galaxy. Seattle, if you do well in this tournament, the brand recognition could go through the roof, because I think a lot of people are going to be watching this tournament. Compared to Club World Cups in the past, this one's going to be a big booming success, especially being in the US. I think there's going to be so many people excited and watching and tuning into this thing because it's huge. It's a tournament that no one has ever seen done. So Seattle has a huge opportunity to showcase themselves, to show other possible players that at some point might want to come to MLS to be like, I remember how well Seattle competed in the Club World Cup and how good of an organization they are. I wouldn't mind going to them, putting our mark to the LAFCs, to the Inter Miamis, to the LA Galaxies, that we're a recognizable brand in this league. But that's only if the club gets it together, makes the right signings, bolsters the squad into a squad that, no, they're not going to win this thing, but can at least compete and show that we are not just a team that all these other teams can roll over, but we're a team that is here to compete. Because right now, the squad that we have, the transfers we've been making, is not an ambitious club that is going into this tournament wanting to do well in it. Because the team right now can't even beat Austin or Colorado or DC United. Imagine what's going to happen in this type of tournament. But yeah, boys and girls, nonetheless, that's going to be the end of today's video. Let me know what you guys think of this upcoming tournament, the importance of it. Do you guys agree with some of the points, disagree with some of my points? Did I miss anything that we could add on to the significance and all that stuff we talked about? Let me know in the comments down below. And for all of our Patreon members, Nathan Goody, Scott Ran with Scissors, Aldo Hernandez, Hernan Gonzalez, Zach Barkhurst, and Mason Gurnett, shout out to all of you. If you guys want to become Patreon members, there's always a link down in the description. It's the best way to support the channel. But boys and girls, I hope y'all have a lovely day.